because I'm now heat processing foods, I'm able to increase my diversity of foods I'm eating.
The concept that you get to eat more variety when you cook food choices as opposed to raw food choices, I question that highly. I seriously question that highly. Yes, I know that you could take an old pair of shoes and cook them and maybe make shoe soup out of them, but who's going to do that? Yes, I understand that you could bake a potato and eat it, whereas a raw potato, although edible, isn't very enticing, nor do you have the digestive enzymes to digest the raw potato. Whereas once you caramelize the starches a bit, they become more digestible with a bit less effort. But there's also the concept that if you can't eat it raw, it probably never was people food in the first place. But the reality is that most people, when they're talking about including the least offensive cooked foods, if you will, they're talking about steaming broccoli and steaming cauliflower and steaming cabbage. And that's not increasing the variety in your diet because I include broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage in my diet already. So there's no increase in variety, particularly. I'm certainly not going to go to starchy food. Me personally, I'm not going to go to starchy food. I wrote the book. I wrote Grain Damage, explaining 20 different reasons why I don't eat starchy food. And I'm more convinced than ever that vitamin C is insanely important in our health, and to go to starchy foods that contain no vitamin C as opposed to fruits and vegetables, which are the highest sources of vitamin C, um, it just would make no sense whatsoever to go in that direction. But that's only one of 20 different reasons. I'm not convinced that more variety in my diet is something that I ache for. I eat 50 different vegetables a year. I eat 200 different fruits a year. How much more variety do I need to add into my diet than the amount of variety that's already coming? I trust nature to the point of believing that the varieties that come to us throughout the year is more than sufficient for us. There's nothing out in the science to base the idea that variety is critically important to us. I mean, what's a cow eat? Grass. Cow eats grass. Okay, maybe a couple different kinds of grass, but grass. What's a lion eat? Meat. Yeah, maybe a couple different kinds of meat, but meat. Uh, I'm not. I'm not. You get the idea? Like that's not huge variety. That's like one thing. So, and they eat a whole diet on it. And nobody's saying, really, cows should eat a much more broad spectrum of. Ah, actually, when you start giving cows foods to which they are not species specific, biologically adapted, you can tell because their poop turns, oh my gosh, so foul, so foul. And they become very filthy creatures, and their poop is a mess, and it shows all the way through. And then they start putting out all the methane, and all the wrong things start happening. So certainly in our diet, when we eat foods that aren't species specific for us, the same things seem to happen. We either get constipated or we get diarrhea, we get all this foul gas, we get digestive issues, we come up with a huge array of digestive system disorders. I won't name them all, but there's at least 8 or 10 that we could name easily, all of which self-correct when we just stop causing them. I think John will be back to 100% raw. Give him a little bit of time for cooked food to fail him yet again, as it always failed him every time before this that he ever tried cooked food, which is why all of us went raw in the first place. I invite all of you to give raw food the chance that you gave cooked food. I don't know how many people viewing this can say that they've been eating raw food as long or longer than they've been eating cooked food. But certainly I've been eating raw food far longer than I ate cooked, because when it got to 50-50 and I could finally make a valid comparison, the second 25 years went far better than the first 25 years, as far as my own health, as far as how I felt, as far as the way my mind worked, as far as the way my body worked. My coordination was better, my mental recall was better, and it continues to be so. I can't tell you that the experiment is over. For me, it's still an experiment. Come back to me in another 50 years. I'll tell you how the experiment went. For now, this is Dr. Doug Graham, inviting all of you to up your health.